Okay, so we are actually going to get started. It's right at 2:30. We're so excited to have you all on for our panel today. I see a couple of you all are still trickling in. So for today, as a lot of you all know, this is our career week. And so we are doing a lot of different career-based things across our Uplift High School campuses. These panels are a part of that. And so today we are here for our Black Industry Leader panel. And so we'll be learning about a lot of different unique and awesome career pathways and hearing from some different professionals in various industries. So just to let you know how today is going to go, we're going to be here for about an hour. And during that time, we're going to do a couple of different things. So we're going to start with a welcome and overview, which we are doing right now. I'll let our panelists introduce themselves. You all should be able to see them on the side of your screen. Then we are going to do some rapid fire Q&A questions, and I will need you all's participation for that. Then we'll actually go into the panel and hear about the careers that we have joining us today. And then at the very end, the last half of what we're going to do today is going to be the time for you all to ask questions. So we actually have some scholars with us from Luna and North Hills today who are going to be moderating that part and helping you all ask your questions to our panelists. So just to go over a couple of things today, we do want your participation. So I know a lot of you all dropped into the chat what campus you're from. Mighty is definitely here today, which is exciting. So definitely keep participating. If you have any questions as we go through for our panelists, you can put those into the Q&A button. So you should see that either at the top or the bottom of your screen, and you can type in any questions that you have, and we'll make sure those get answered today. So here are our panelists today. So we have 5 wonderful panelists with us today. I'm going to stop talking and let them introduce themselves. And we will start with Birdie.
Hello, hello. My name is Birdie Kelly, and I am CEO and founder of 3 companies. So the first one, which is where I'm here today, is for Ream. It's my tech company. And then I have Milan Property Management company in the real estate industry. And then last is the Birdie Lynn, and that is a private publishing company. I am so happy to be here. And I see a bunch of 10th graders, sophomores and 11th graders, so excited to speak to you guys, and please come with the questions. Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll have Douglas introduce himself.
How's everyone doing? My name is Douglas Shaw. I'm the general manager at the National Freight Industry Warehouse located in DeSoto, Texas. I've been in the supply chain industry for just about 12 years now. So looking forward to speaking with you all today.
Thank you. And now we have Harold with CodeStream.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Harold Strong, and I'm really happy to be here to visit with you. I have 2 companies that I'm currently running at the moment. One is a foundation focused on building life science companies here in the region, primarily genomics and regenerative medicine. But today I'm representing CodeStream, and we teach K through 12 as well as adults how to do computer coding. So look forward to your questions, look forward to the discussion. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly Ware. I'm actually here on behalf of Michelin. We provide tires globally, as well as Michelin star restaurants and a slew of other companies. I work in digital transformation. So I am the bridge between the technology and getting it to consumers. So social media, any type of software, data integrations, all of those cool things I have my hand involved in. So excited to talk about this in more detail with everyone.
And then we'll wrap up with Gabrielle.
Hey everyone, my name is Gabrielle. I'm a technical sourcer. I work at Facebook. I've been there a little under a year, or a little under 2 years, sorry. And currently I am recruiting for consumer-facing product managers. And so I'm representing really from the recruiting world, how to break into tech. Happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you all for introducing yourself. So I'm actually going to turn it over to Camille to lead us in a poll. And scholars, you should see that popping up on your screen now.
Thank you, everyone. So I'm excited to learn about you all, but first we want to kind of get past the business and start with some fun. So thinking about would you rather, so scholars, please participate. Let us know. We want to compare whether you would be, which option would you choose, but we also want to get our panelists responses as well. So let's get started as the questions come in with Birdie, since you started us off. Would you rather have a famous family member or be the famous family member, and why?
Famous family member. And why is because the tremendous pressure that you're under to be famous, I'd rather support.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like it's really close. So keep your votes coming in. Let's see. Kimberly, what would be your choice for that one?
I wouldn't want to be famous, so I would rather have a family member. I completely agree. I think there's a lot of pressure in being famous, but I think you can get a lot of stuff in the background done also. That's pretty impactful. So yeah.
Yeah, fun fact, actually, I personally know Kimberly, and that answer surprises me because when I met her, she was working for MTV. So that's why I wanted to call you for that one, but I hope you'll be able to touch on that today. Yeah. So that's really close. It's almost half and half. So let's move to the next question. Would you rather break everything you touch or get shocked every time you touch something? And I'm going to go to our Uplift alum, Miss Gabrielle.
That's a tricky one. I was hoping to get the famous one. Anyways, I'm gonna go with get shocked every time I touch something, just because I don't want to break everything. I mean, getting shocked maybe over time, if it's the same voltage, I'll get used to it. I'll start to normalize out. So I'm gonna choose get shocked.
And Douglas, how about you?
I would say break everything. I'm not too fond of being shocked. I've been shocked a few times, and I'd rather pass on that one.
Okay. All right. And Harold, can you close this out? What about riding a bike to work or a horse to work?
Ooh, I like both, but I guess C is not an option. So I'll go with the bike. I'll take the bike because I have to feed it less.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that, of riding my bike as well. So this is really close. We've done this. We've had 2 panels prior to this one, and they haven't been this close. So some of the questions were like Whataburger, In-N-Out, and Beyonce or Jay-Z. So this is cool to see that they're pretty close on the scholar side. But thank you for participating. So now scholars, the Q&A box is open. So I encourage you, if you hear a question that sparks a thought, please don't be shy. Drop it in the Q&A box. I'll ask a few questions just to get some of the nitty gritty out of the way, but we really want you all to, use this for yourself. Ask the questions that you think about, one day when you want, a career, you want to earn money, what will that look like? So you all mentioned, where you work, what you do, your roles, but can you go a little bit deeper on what does your job actually consist of? And if there's anything cool or fun or exciting about it in that day-to-day work. And I'm gonna call on Kimberly to start us off.
So wow, my day-to-day, I actually lead a global task force of stakeholders in India, France, Canada, North America, as well as Russia. So right now we're working on bringing in a new technology to our global company. And we have an array of products. And anytime you're trying to bring in new technology, you need your architects, you need your engineers, you need so many different stakeholders to come together. Day to day, I am on calls with people all around the world. I am learning from people in so many different departments, whether it's learning more about data, understanding the business strategy a little bit better, the financials, that could be pricing, procurement. Every day is pretty different. And I think for me, the coolest thing is working with people all around the world and working with some of the best tech companies in the world. So I could be, working on a project, trying to get Microsoft on board. It could be Salesforce. It could be another vendor that's very unique. So constant learning and the ambiguity of it all makes it pretty fun and pretty special. So yeah.
Thank you. Gabrielle, if you could touch on this one too, just working, I know everyone knows what Facebook is, but what do you do at Facebook?
Yeah, so at Facebook, just a caveat, our recruiting team is like wildly large. So like literally every team has their own focus. So even though I'm in recruiting, I very specifically and only recruit for senior consumer facing product managers, and that's my sole focus. And so in my role, honestly, it's a lot of talking, it's a lot of networking. I'm literally on the phone pretty much all day, speaking with candidates, getting to know their background, really figuring out, am I going to push them for the role, am I not, are you qualified, are you not qualified? If you're not, like, how can we pivot, try to find something else for you? So it's a lot of cross-functional work as it comes to try to find people roles. Also just, again, a lot of talking, to let people know about our roles that we have, trying to match them in certain positions. I also do a couple other things with my team as it comes to metrics. Inclusive and diversity hiring is a really, really big thing for us. So a lot of our goals are surrounded around that. And for me personally, it's important. So I actually set up my day around that every day. And so I help out with the metrics on that. We really pushing top of funnel to make sure, that we are making the impact that we say that we are going to make. And so that's some other stuff that I do kind of on the side alongside recruiting.
Okay, so thank you so much. Douglas, can you touch on your role and what you do as in supply chain work?
Yes, I oversee a distribution center, like I said earlier, located in DeSoto. We sit at roughly 1.4 million square feet. We service over 200 stores for Lowe's out of their facility. My day does consist of a lot of meetings, from planning to staffing to budgeting. One thing I like a lot about my role is I have a lot of interaction with my team members. Very passionate about development. I get to do that day in and day out, which is something I'm very passionate about. I also deal with a lot of ambiguity, which makes the day go by a lot faster, although it makes it challenging at times. One of the most exciting things, like I just touched on, right, is the development piece. Very passionate about it because I feel like that is part of the reason why I'm where I am today. Is being around the right people that see something in you and are able to develop you and walk you through the struggles and things that may come about. Aside from the things I just went over, I do a lot of interacting with our hourly employees as well. Just making sure I'm out actively engaging those guys, helping those guys throughout the course of the shift. We do a lot of employee panels on a weekly basis just to get feedback from those guys to ensure that we're removing any barriers that they may have and making sure that we're creating a great workplace for those individuals.
Nice. Harold, can you let us into some insight into your work too?
Happy to. So CoStream Studios has been active for almost 5 years, and the focus is to try to introduce a lot of kids your age into the coding world so that you can call up Kimberly and Gabrielle and possibly Birdie and say, hey, listen, I got skills, can we talk? I got to this point after spending a bunch of years in corporate. I was at Nike for 6 years and then came back to Texas and worked in universities. And in many cases, the gap that was missing for a lot of the kids we worked with and for a lot of the kids that were in programs that we sponsored was that they didn't know how to code and they were being left out in a couple of different critical areas. So the idea behind CodeStream is how can we create an environment that's more like a co-working opportunity where you're not sitting in a classroom actually trying to memorize, but you're actually hands-on learning how to build a website, how to build an app or a game, so that you can then use that at some future time. Again, refer back to Kimberly and Gabrielle. So that's what we do and why we do it. We started with 15 kids 5 years ago, and we're north of 5,000 kids now. So we're really excited about what we're doing. Several of our customers or students have gone to work for Amazon, for Microsoft. So we're really excited about that path, and we look forward to future success from the people we teach. Thanks.
Thank you. And Birdie has 3 roles. So I know that you a lot of hats that you're wearing, but if you could touch on maybe how you manage that and what your weeks look like, I guess.
Wow. So I am even busier than I was just working for an employer. It is crazy, but I love it. I just want to touch on something Harold just said. I actually love coding and started it at your scholar's age, in sophomore in high school, and that was on the programs back then were ancient, but I actually use Grasshopper. With Google, I think it's easy. It's fun. They have little games. So if you don't know about that, Harold probably can tell you more, but I love it. So let's see, I've been in the real estate industry for the last 17 years. And so I did leasing. Like I would be the one that leased an apartment to you. And then I moved up and I took your rent from you. And then I managed the building. So from there, I just last year was a tumultuous year for us all. And, the pandemic allowed time to slow down just a bit. And I was able to think and really, hey, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Do I want to work for somebody or do I want to work for myself? And that question was easy. And I got out there and took the biggest risk ever, used my savings. It has been the absolute best feeling, but it's not easy. And so I'll talk about that later. But so my day-to-day consists of relationships, establishing relationships, networking. I'm on the phone most of the time, or I'm in person, or I'm doing virtual meetings just like I am with you today. So it's a lot of that, a lot of cold calling for my property management. For my tech company, working the last 17 years in the real estate industry, I have been able to find different communication problems that need to be solved. And one of them is the communication between the resident or the office tenant who works in a building and the resident who lives in an apartment community, and the management office. So if something's gone wrong, and I'll just keep it simple, if something's gone wrong in your apartment, and let's say the toilet's broken and it's not flushing, well, you have to call the management office. You don't know when they're going to come or anything like that. And so there's this frustration there, and I have solved that problem with the software that I'm currently developing. And that is going to take on the real estate world. And so I've been networking for that. And then for my publishing company, it's a private publishing company. And we're, just getting started with that. But we've released a memoir today of myself. And then we also have released a workbook that goes with it, and a bunch of other goodies like swag and that is tied to it and everything, just to kind of promote a positive, inspirational message of, working through adversity and healing and overcoming your past trauma. So that's a little bit about what I'm doing. I'm happy to answer questions and get more detailed. Hopefully that was good, Camille. A lot of detail.
Yeah, that was perfect. So thinking about our scholars who are gonna watch later and those who are watching now, we are a high school network. So I know you all are at different points in your career, but thinking back at high school, into your high school experience, did you know, this is a career I wanted to do, I'm going straight for it, I'm ready for it now. And if so, or if not, either way, what do you think a high school scholar or student can be thinking about now, you know, even though their career might be 4, 5, 6 years later, or even more. So it's kind of a twofold question, and anyone can start. We'll just hop around and take a few responses.
I'll start us off. Man, when I think about high school, I would definitely say working in such a large organization, those interpersonal skills, being able to communicate and present in front of people, especially in a digital world, those are things that we're noticing that are becoming more and more pivotal, right? And important. I would definitely say volunteer, gain experience. Like I remember she brings up MTV. I made no money, right? But it was like the coolest experience ever. Working for MTV, understanding their strategy, being a part of their marketing programs, working in New York City. Sometimes I will say, don't let the money drive you. Don't let that be your motivating factor. I want to essentially bring someone on board who is great to work with, who's open to learning. Where I am now is not what I initially planned. And so being open to different changes, and I've worked in different industries, pharmaceutical, media, banking, now Michelin. And so be open, volunteer in your community. The first job I got out of college, I was working for a nonprofit in New Jersey. And I didn't know what I would get from it, but I knew I wanted to make a difference. I knew it was my opportunity. Did I ever think that particular politician would be a senator right now? Did I ever think the project management skills I would get, my ability to understand government at that time? I didn't even realize how it would trickle over into where I am now. And so be open to all of those different things in your community, whether it's a food bank, whether it's you taking the lead on a project to help someone, whether it's revamping their website, going online and just learning something on your own. The tools that you all have now, I didn't have. Like, it wasn't just a YouTube away. We might have had MySpace and we were doing a little coding, right? But you guys have so many tools at your disposal, and learn and take that initiative, because I don't care how you learned it. I just want to know that you're open to learning it. And so that's one, a few things I would get some feedback on.
I'm going to piggyback on what Kimberly said. I love to set goals when I was you all's age, and I was an athlete though. So I ran track. And so, coach was always saying, visualize, your race and the time that you want to beat. It was always beating myself. I was my fiercest competition, right? I didn't worry about all my other competitors. So I think within that is not worrying about what you see in your reality, but focusing on what you're building for your future. So what does that look like, right? So I could, and I want to encourage you guys to ensure that every day, like, set your goal. What do I want to be when I grow up? What do I want to be 5 years, 10 years down the road? Like, where do I see myself? Do something every day, even if it's just writing something in a journal. Maybe it's just taking time out to visualize it, and do something every day towards that goal. And I think the more you visualize, the more you take action towards those goals, the more and that you'll realize that later on, and the more that you'll have confidence, and you'll grow in that confidence and take on opportunities like Kimberly said. I mean, hey, sometimes the best positions aren't the paid positions, because it's the experience that you're gathering. Thanks, Kimberly, for saying that, because that was something that I I believed in too.
Does one more person want to share before we move to the next?
Well, I can share. Looking back into high school, I really didn't know a lot about supply chain, nor was I guess, directed in the right path in regards to what I wanted to do long term from a career standpoint. I fell into supply chain after college, probably was one of the best things that ever happened to me because it kind of matched my skill set and things that I was interested in. I would encourage all of you guys to ensure that like the other panelists stated, right, find out what you're interested in, put plans in place to get there, and if you're able to, find a mentor. Mentors are very pivotal to taking you to the next step and guiding you in the right direction. Mentors can set you up for success and make sure that you're on the right path and you're not getting lost down rabbit holes that are not going to lead you in the right direction. So make sure if you have the opportunity to do so, I would encourage you all to go that route.
Thank you. All right, Scholar. So I have one more question and then we'll pass it over to you all because I know there's a lot of adults talking, but thinking about the title, the panelists today are Black industry leaders. And so their identity has had influence in their either growth, challenges, success, just experience in their role or throughout the years. And if Gabrielle or Harold or anyone who would like to input on this question, just thinking about your identity in your workplace, does it have any, how has it shaped your career path or has it had any challenge or influence on it? If you can recall an actual story or a moment, just speaking to like your identity in your industry or at your current role.
Gabrielle, you want to start or?
If you're ready, you can go. I'm thinking on this one.
I'm responding to questions. I'm so sorry.
So I appreciate the question, and it's a great question. I think, well, speaking personally, technology is a unique position for African Americans because it's not as frequent that you see someone who looks like me in the space. But even more rare is women in technology. So I'm really anxious for the counter answer. It's important because if you've been doing any reading about what's going on in artificial intelligence, there's a bigger chance that the AI that's being used won't recognize a Black woman 33% of the time. And that's primarily because we don't have Black folks programming in the space, positively, constructively making those algorithms that recognize everyone that's involved in day-to-day life. So why does that matter? If I'm going to the airport and I'm going through TSA, there may be an AI camera that's monitoring who's walking in, and if they don't recognize you as a person, they then flag you. Or if I am walking through a mall or walking through a retail store, I'm going to be tagged for someone who may not be shopping legally, if that makes sense to you. So from the perspective of representing who I am and what in the group that I am a part of, it's important to teach everyone, expose everyone to computer coding, not just the technical piece of what a code is, but the policy behind it, what's important, the digital inclusion component, how you can discern what's real information versus what's fake information, because anymore information is being sourced from a host of different locations and sources. And you need to know which is right and which is wrong. So while the coding component to build the website is cool, to build the coolest game is nice, yeah, apps are cool too. And the critical pieces, you can get paid for that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. And I think you can look and determine who's getting paid more than others. But the critical piece is being represented at a global level so that you can reduce the amount of hassle that comes in your life because of the inability to represent who we are in a coding technical situation. So I hope that helped. Happy to answer questions if I confused anyone.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. And being on the recruiting side of things is interesting because we kind of see the numbers from just a recruiting perspective. Although, a lot of us already know exactly what you just said. I feel like, there's a really big issue with the hiring processes, even at some companies, when it comes down to, hiring, underrepresented minorities. I mean, a lot of times we pull women and then underrepresented minorities into two different categories, which I think is smart. But it's interesting, being in tech and seeing that there's just so much more to go. Like there's so many things that we still have to do. And I believe, Harold, like the company that what you're doing right now is super, super important because of access. Like a lot of the root cause, I believe, is that a lot of times underrepresented minorities don't even have the access to these tools, whereas others might. So at the end of the day, like I'm hoping and, looking forward is like, as we create more access, we're going to see a lot more underrepresented minorities in tech, because another issue that I see a lot right now is the leveling. So many companies are looking for such senior candidates, and perhaps a lot of us that look like us don't have that experience yet. So there's another barrier. We're not necessarily all the time able to get into, these big companies or, make this quote unquote impact, at the moment because of these barriers. So I think it's great that a lot of you here sound like, you have your own thing going, which is really beautiful. And I feel like we need more people doing that, because at the end of the day, I think that like we have this huge opportunity to change how things are. And, I've definitely been seeing it. It's definitely on the rise. I know at Facebook, our numbers, we have definitely substantially increased our hiring for underrepresented minorities as well as underrepresented populations. So I'm happy to see that it definitely has been this increase. We haven't gone down on those percentages. So I'm hoping to kind of see that still going forward, of course. So I think it's a work in progress. I think it's very different. Myself being in recruiting is very unique because in recruiting, we're non-tech, even though I work at a tech company. So there are a lot of women in recruiting. It's very heavily women based. Our VP, our head, everything in recruiting is actually led by women, which is very awesome to see. So it is a little bit more dominated on the women's side. Now, underrepresented minorities, kind of the same situation, as tech versus non-tech, the numbers look quite similar there. Probably a little bit more, lower for the non-tech side. But I think that, as we move forward, is just, again, is this going to be a lot of the advancements in companies, like what you're doing, Harold, is amazing, because this is, what we're going to hopefully, thank you for, in the future, like that's going to be like the changing grace here. So just wanted to say that piece too.
Thank you.
Can I add something to that answer to the question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was noticing some of the Q&A that's popping up on screen, and a lot of folks are asking, is college important, and different angles of that. And based on Gabrielle's answer, I think you can understand that college is important because it differentiates you from other candidates that may be applying for the position. The other comment that Gabrielle made was people with experience would be important or prioritized higher. But if you don't have experience, what can you substitute that with? You can substitute that with knowledge. So I've been exposed to it. I've learned it. I've interned. I have a mentor, sort of like Doug was talking about, in the space. So that is a way that you can use a college education, even a trip to community college. There's a lot of strong support that you can get there to differentiate yourself from other candidates who are applying for a similar position.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to pass it off. I know that question sparked a lot of discussion, but I want to make sure that our scholars get a chance to ask their questions and represent the campuses. I know you all are creating history in some ways, the first or the only people in these positions. And I want our scholars to kind of feel some of that energy for themselves and ask the questions on behalf of Uplift. So I'm going to pass it over to you all to take over the next Q&A portion. Thank you so much.
So at this time, we can have our scholar moderators. We have CJ and Zach. I'm going to have them do like a full intro and let you all know what campus they are representing today. We do have 4 questions in the Q&A box, but there were also some that were answered by like typing. So if you want to revisit those, you can feel free to do that also. But at this time, I'm going to let you all go, and we'll start with CJ.
Hi, my name is CJ Ananobi. I'm an 11th grader at Uplift North Hills, and I'm the student council secretary.
Hi, I'm Zach. I am a senior from Uplift Luna. Yeah.
Awesome. So you guys can start browsing that box now, or if you can ask questions that you all have.
Oh,
sorry.
you can have that. That's you, CJ. Yeah.
Okay. What advice do you have to young Black scholars who are looking to have a position that you have right now?
So I'm going to start off, I'm going to answer that. I'm going to tie it into with the last comment too. I'm going to sneak that in there. I actually did not graduate from college until 2019. I had my son and I fully focused on him and kind of put college to the side. So in the meantime, I gained experience. And so I had all the experience in the world, but yet I didn't get that coveted leadership position, or maybe I got it, but I didn't get the pay that that someone with a college education did. So college is definitely important. It's not a requirement, no, but it's definitely important, and I will always push it because that's why I finished it. So that's my advice: is to definitely gain the experience, but at the same time, make sure you take the right steps now to go through college, lace yourself with the information that you need, and it'll equip you for roles like I have now later in your life. I will say the other advice is there will be several times, unfortunately, it has been for many of us probably on this panel, where you will be the only one who looks like you. When you go into that room or you go into that setting, don't be defeated. You're in an underserved community. You are, if you're a minority, you're going to walk into a room where the majority doesn't look like you. In fact, it could be nobody. So don't be defeated. Have confidence. Hold your head up. Make sure that you do what you came to do in that room, and don't ever let that defeat you.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that. I had a question specifically for Ms. Ware and Mr. Shaw. You guys mentioned ambiguity in your roles, and so I wanted to know specifically what do you mean by that? If you could expound on that.
Wow. So when I say ambiguity, I mean the unknown, the uncertain. And so when you lead projects, some people like structure, right? And in times in the workplace, in the economy, and look at 2020, you have to be able to pivot, and you have to be able to navigate without having all the resources, without having all the answers, and to be able to make decisions based on partial information. And ambiguity is all around me. And I say that because there are financial investments that as a firm we're looking to invest in when it comes to technology. But we don't know everything about this new technology. It's new to us. We don't have experts yet. The market hasn't even been able to explore it. And so we do our due diligence. But there comes a time when you have to take the information you have and still be able to lead, provide a vision, leverage your team members. Again, I am not a one-man, one-woman show. I have an amazing team around me. And so being okay with change, and change rapidly. And again, I had a coworker say this to me years ago, and he said, there's one thing to bring a problem to the table, right? But also think about a solution while you're bringing that problem, right? And so things are changing, and ambiguity is essentially uncertainty. It's essentially, maybe in an illustration, it's kind of like walking, maybe walking up the stairs and not being able to see where it takes you, but knowing and being confident that it's going to get you to the right place. Sorry if that was a little long-winded.
And I can piggyback off that, right? From an ambiguity standpoint, I deal with it day in and day out. There's always constant change. One thing that we're kind of working through now, as we know, we're in a COVID situation. So a lot of my staffing, a lot of my strategy is based off of a forecasting plan that looks out over 28 days. So with that being said, right, projections are always either extremely high or extremely low. They haven't been as quite accurate lately, which causes a lot of different ripples within the operation, right? We have to make staffing adjustments. We have to make shift changes. We have to ensure that we're tying off with transportation to make sure that we have the necessary carriers in place to put us in position to execute deliveries on time. Along with that, right, ever since COVID, we've had to do a lot of different changes from a staffing standpoint, which impacts the amount of volume that we're able to process on a weekly basis. So prior to COVID, we were able to process about 2.2 million units in a week. Right now, we're still able to do so, but it's taking 4 additional shifts to get that done. So that's a lot of hiring, a lot of training. A lot of our labor is skilled labor. So isn't, it's easy just bringing someone in, teaching them how to do the job in a week. Based off the learning curve ramp that we see, it normally takes someone upwards of 8 to 10 weeks to get them up to speed. So it's ensuring that we have proper plans in place, and those plans always get altered. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you so much for your answers. Okay. Can any change affect you in good ways and bad ways? How did you manage everything you do?
I'll jump into this one. 2020 was a real year. It was a year that we had to reflect on a lot. It was a year where our emotional mental state was challenged, and I will say that it is a huge thing to have on your heart, right? And so companies are incorporating EAP, right? So they're paying for therapy sessions, and I say this because it's very important to manage that emotional intelligence, to be able to have a way to fill your cup. So sometimes these changes, whether it is your company supporting a particular, a political campaign, or maybe it's something that's happening in the news, these changes, these macroeconomic events have an impact. And so it's hard to manage these things as they happen. Restructuring. I don't know about the other panelists, but people have lost their jobs. People have been moved around in companies. People are really hurting, right? And so I think whether it is having your tribe of people that you can go to, whether it's therapy, whether it's meditation, whether it is something that you can tap into to fill your cup, because sometimes the change can be very heavy. But through all of these changes, not only do you have a company that needs you, but you are representing so many other people that will follow you. And so I will say just being able to know that things won't always go right, but feeling confident and having your tribe and having those different things that you could tap into, because things will happen. And good change is always, and I say good change because at times you will have a change that may be good. Maybe it's some type of technology. Maybe it's a change in leadership. Maybe you find that you have someone, part of your company now that is an ally for you, and that they're going to be able to build that bridge for you to be able to kind of move up in a company. And so I think that being able to be optimistic and being able to understand that these changes won't be easy, but to count those small wins. There's a lot of small wins and that we need to be mindful of, and that's kind of what I would say. It's not, listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is perfect. Working a job, managing your own business, working with people from different backgrounds, you're constantly learning, you're constantly growing. And it's about being open to all of this. And what I would say is have your tribe, and don't feel like you have to be stuck in one place. Be open to moving around. Be open to change. Be open to change that you don't even understand, but there's an opportunity that you will learn. And get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because if you can, you will be able to navigate so much in this world, as well as in your career.
I just want to echo, I feel like that was so well said. Like there's not even much more to honestly like say to that, but I think the big thing you said is like get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think that's one of the biggest things that has like pushed me through my career. Just like to rewind it back really quick, I was a pre-med major in undergrad. I worked in a clinic for a year trying to get hours, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I took the change and I just like completely pivoted and I landed in tech. You know, I didn't plan on ever getting into tech. I never planned on even honestly being a recruiter. Like you don't go to school to be a recruiter. You know, there's no track to become a recruiter. You know, we're separate from HR at most places, to be completely honest. Like we have a completely different function. And so, you know, I think that, you know, your tribe and the people around you is super, super, super important, because you want to have people around you that are lifting you up. You know, we want to have people who are encouraging us, you know, helping us take that next step, because I 100% agree change is very hard, but it also can be very, very good, you know, depending on what the change is. And the way that I kind of think about life is it's a wave. You know, we're constantly on this wave of life. Like it's just a journey of like, you know, sometimes we're really up on the wave and sometimes we're down, but being down and just knowing that we're going to go back up is what helps me feel okay. Is that not everything lasts for however long it may be. And I think COVID and this whole situation last year, especially when it comes to emotion and things like that, really has proved us through that. And same with, you know, Facebook, they definitely encouraged us to go to therapy, you know, paid for all that sorts of stuff. And so I think that's an important piece too, is making sure that your mental health is as strong as it can be is super, super important, I think, as well, to navigating through change, because the stronger it is, you know, I believe the more you can get through things in life.
So it sounds like uh, a lot of you guys' careers have experienced change. So would you say that adaptability, it plays a crucial part in what you do?
So I'm going to answer that. I worked for Nike, Gap, Old Navy, and coming out of college. And one of the things that I still remember to this day, there was a card that Gap gave us. And one of the values on that card, it was a values like morals card, and it said, be a sponge. So that was a characteristic. You have to soak up all the knowledge around you in order to learn and, like Kimberly was saying, pivot. So all the knowledge that you're gaining, as you're gaining that knowledge, the world is changing at the same time. So how do you keep up? And in order to pivot and go a different direction or evolve, you know, you have to evolve and you have to change with the world as it's evolving and changing, and it's happening every second of the day. So I think that's most important, is just being a sponge at the age that you are now, and knowing that by doing so, you're going to be able to know how to handle different things that life throws at you. I'm also going to say this because Gabrielle, I think, mentioned 2020. I know we went through the protests and we went through, you know, a pandemic, and we're still in the pandemic, and the effects that it's had on our lives, and it's literally changed the world. The Black Lives Matter protest literally was a global protest, and it spoke to the resilience of humankind and just who we are as humans and our nature. And one of the things that I realized is that not one person in this world escapes trauma. And so if there is something that you are going through even today, and you're dealing with some type of personal trauma in your life, no matter what it is, you can do it. You're not alone. We've all been through it. Even where we are today, I can tell you personally, I've been through it. And you have to learn to power through those moments, use outlets. I can't tell you how many outlets I've used. Gaming has helped me. When I was your age, I was gaming a lot. I was, well, still playing with Barbie dolls, but that's a whole nother topic. But I mean, there were a lot of outlets, coloring. There were a lot of things that I used to kind of muster through those moments and gain strength to power through, and eventually leveling up to, a different chapter in my life that was better than the last. So, trouble doesn't last always. So whatever it is that you are going through and you're having a hard time with now, maybe that the pandemic, I know several people whose lives have been touched where they don't even have a meal to eat. They don't even know where their next meal is, or their parents got laid off. Whatever it is, you can do it. Find that strength, power through, and level up, because it's going to be your next chapter is going to be your best chapter. And your empowerment begins right now with the words that I'm sharing to you, because this is for somebody who probably is going through it right now, and you have an amazing future ahead of you.
Thank you so much for that, Birdie. And we do have one final question in the chat. CJ, would you like to finish us off?
Sure. This question is from another scholar, and it's, in your experience with screening applicants for open positions, how much does a college education factor into the qualifications you're looking for? Whether it's a certificate, AA, four-year degree, graduate degree.
I'll start it off. The degree means a lot. We're coming into a space where everyone is applying through, whether it's LinkedIn, Indeed, and your keywords mean everything. And so a lot of these companies, and Gabrielle can probably give you a lot more feedback than I can, but within our systems, we have certain things that we're looking for. So if we say we need you to have an MBA or college degree, or if we want you to have certain skills, these are the keywords, and these are the things that will get you to get to that next step. And so because everything is through some type of technology or system now, if you don't have the qualifications, unfortunately, you may not be able to get in front of that recruiter or that hiring manager to even be seen, or to even have your voice heard. It's I've seen people with degrees that don't have as much knowledge or charisma, or just I don't necessarily think that a degree means that you should have a position. You need to show that you have the skills and the experience to be in that seat. I've seen so many times people who are not qualified in positions, but as a Black woman, I need to have my degrees, because I'm at a table with no other people of color. I mean, Black or brown. And so at times our qualifications are more than our counterparts that are not of Hispanic descent or not of Black descent. And so I will say that it is very important. I do feel like you can have a seat at the table, but at times your degrees do speak before you. And it's tough, because again, like everyone on the panel said, we are not one of many. It's sprinkles of us. And so another way to get around this is to build your network. I am a resource. I'm on LinkedIn. Again, Michelin, I will do whatever I can do to make sure that our positions are available to uplift. And that's how you continue to build that out. I know a lot of people. And so if someone was to ask me, hey, Kimberly, can you do X, Y, and Z? I'm pretty sure I could find someone, or I could do some work myself to make sure that I can help. I'm definitely in a space in my career where I want to help. It's not just about where I am, it's about bringing people. It's about helping. It's about being whether it's me giving someone's advice, but let me tell you, build your network, because it's who you know. And if you know the right people, if you know the right recruiters, if you can get assistance on your resume, the development of it, keywords, the verbiage, you might be able to skip some steps that maybe a person who just submits their resume will not be able to skip. So I'm here to help in any way, but in my experience, unfortunately, the degree is one of those things that can get you to the next step, or it can actually, stop you from being able to move to the next phase of the interview process.
So I know that Hannah and Camille weren't expecting this, but there's one thing I'm going to say, and then there's 2 action steps I'm going to take. So one thing I'm going to say are strengths. Know your strengths. And in order to do so, there's a program called Strength Finders. For everyone that's on the call today, Hannah, you just let me know, or Camille, I'm going to purchase them this test, the Strength Finders test, so they can take it. Anybody who's not that's in the class or whatever, that's not on the call, I'm happy to purchase additional ones so that they have access. But Strength Finders, you can look that up, tells you your top 5 strengths. And in order for you to know how and where you fit within a company, to know if you're a good fit in that role or maybe in what you want to do in life, Strength Finders will help you, because it ties to strengths that this is kind of from birth, things that you're acquired. So for me, my top strength is restorative. I'm a fixer. I like to fix things. So that's me knowing that. I know then how to move forward in my career and in my personal life. So that's one excellent step I'm going to take. The second one, I'm actually rolling out, and this is to be my first announcement today about it, but I'm rolling out a website, an extension of Birdie Lynn. It's called Inclusive Talks. And for the whole year of 2021, high school students, college students, especially HBCUs, and professionals who are switching careers will have the chance to do mock interviews for free with me. And I'm giving resume advice and helping with the layout of your resume, and doing over 100 interviews, several hundred interviews over the last 17 years and hiring people. I can definitely steer people in the right way at no charge whatsoever. This is my gift of just giving back for the rest of 2021, because 2021 is about rebuilding. So Hannah and Camille, please, I'll send you over that link. Uplift Education is welcome to use that freely, and we can schedule that for whoever like that assistance in that experience.
That's so awesome.
Oh, go ahead, Camille.
No, that was Tia, but we're all talking. I feel kind of like inclined to keep the conversation going, but I know we are pulling up at time, but there are still questions in the chat. So I want to be mindful of everyone's time and let Hannah close us out. But if you're still on the call and you have a question, please type it in Q&A. I know there's a question about being a first generation college student, and I know there's just lots of things to talk about. I know this is just hard to find the time to close this out, but Hannah's going to talk about how you can still get your question answered, and that we can let our panelists get back to work so they can keep being the examples that they are for us today. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, Birdie, for that. That's super exciting. I love Strength Finder. And thank you to all of our panelists for joining us today. I know that I personally learned a lot, and so I'm sure our scholars learned a lot as well. And thank you to CJ and Zach for being on the call and for doing a fantastic job of moderating and fielding all those questions that were coming in. This is going to conclude our panel for today. I am going to drop in a survey into the chat. We would love to have your feedback, scholars, and just know what you thought, because we want to continue doing these and providing some career programs and content for you all. But for now, you can go ahead and click on that link that's in the chat, and then you all can go ahead and log off for the day.